Hi there, it's Kevin with Deckbuilder.com here with another Rivals of Ixalan spoiler video. Had a lot of fun doing this yesterday. So far, so good. I don't know if I'm hyping up the set more than it should be, but it does seem to have a lot of fun cards, all the missing pieces that we are asking for from the Ixalan. So Ixalan might end up being a pretty fun, not only sealed and draft format, but if we can get rid of some of the energy. Attune with Aether is a card that I've been calling on Twitter to be banned. Go and check out Saffron Olive's article about energy a couple weeks back on MG Goldfish. I'm sure you can do a Google search and find it, about how this standard is actually as oppressive as ever. I mean, it's getting up to Cobblade numbers. The one thing that the standard does have going for it is at least the games are a little bit more interactive and fun. I wouldn't say there's a lot of strategies besides the approach to the second sun decks that are really unfun to play against. Like, even if you play against energy all day, it still feels like playing Magic, at least in my opinion. The redundancy does get old though, and I think that for a standard to have a real fun format, or just a one of the reasons why people like Modern so much is just there's no deck above like the 10%, 9% meta share at the moment. So if we go back to a standard that has more variety, I think that'd be good for everyone, and banning Attune is the right card, as it forces them to pick a path. They can't be both an aggro, like Sultai and Temur especially, have the aggro draws, the mid-range draws, and the control draws all in one. And it's really Attune with Aether that sets those up. And the second turn Long Tusk Cub or the Glint Sleeve Siphoner are just backbreaking when they're followed up with an Attune with Aether, or with a Attune with Aether. So anyway, that's my little bit of a rant of the current format right now. And for any of these strategies to see play, I think that we're going to need to get rid of the energy nuisance. I think that the other gifts right now, like the other decks right now in the format, like God Pharaoh's Gift and Ramming Up Red, are a lot easier to hate out than energy. That's what makes energy such a problem, and the reason why Standard can't have this policing format at the moment is there's no real way to hate out on energy. You'll talk to everyone, oh, my gift deck does really well against energy, my control deck does really well against energy, all these do so well. Well, then how come energy still exists when it has such a huge portion of the meta? Anyway, that's my rant. We will get on to the spoilers now. So we had some great ones yesterday. Let's see if we can find anything that comes close to yesterday's Chupacabra or the Double Dora Explorer. Those cards are insanely good. I think both of them are actually right on the verge of being modern playable. So it's good to have some powerhouses in this set, especially second sets. I love second sets because they're very investable. First sets are not, because there's just too much product open. Second set, those are a lot of the cards I like to pick up pre-rotation when they go down in value, down to their bulk rates, and then pick them up, and then they go insane post-rotation when they start to see play, or just this demand starts outstripping the supply. Anyway, let's get on to the spoilers. The first one here is Golden Demise. That's kind of a funny name. Let's just leave that to you. Golden Demise, 3 mana, Sorcery Ascend. All creatures get -2, -2. If you have the city's blessing, only creatures your opponent controls gets -2, -2. This is kind of cool because you can run it in like a tokens-based strategy, and you can get up to the city's blessing, and then it will only affect it can be like a one-sided board wipe, or pre-attacking in, you can put your opponent in some very horrible situations with their creatures becoming weaker. So I do like this card. I think that usually -2, -2 cards, we do need one at the moment, because we have Bantus. I'm not a big fan of Bantus, and this is actually pretty good against Ramming Up Red. It doesn't hit one of the key cards, the Rampaging Ferocidon, but then it will kill all the Crop Crashers. It will kill all the mages. It will kill all the Earthshaker Kenras and the Beaumont Couriers. So I think this is definitely a needed card at the moment, and it does have the nice little added effect that it could be splashed in decks that normally wouldn't want a -2, -2 ability, but somehow if they get above that, the City's Blessing thing, this could be a really good key way to either break mirrors or have an answer towards other aggro-based strategies. All right, so on to Stormfleet Sprinter. It's a 3 mana for a 2/2 haste, and it can't be blocked. I think this is going to be a powerhouse in draft and sealed. If you're in those colors, like you never want to first pick into a double color combination, because you never know if you're going to be able to go that. And this isn't the best splashable card, I would say, either. This is something that will really reward you for going Pirates in red-blue. And if not, and is this going to take the slot now of kind of the red-blue pirate we were, the vampires and the merfolk got a lord. I hope not. I hope that they still do have a lord for the pirate. This one, though, I don't know if it's quite powerful enough for standard. I think it'd need to be a 3/2 at this point to really compete with the cards in the format. But a haste 2/2 can't be blocked is a pretty sweet little card. Yeah, but yeah, just not quite there unless there's ways to pump this sucker up. Having the can't be blocked is kind of cool with pirates because there's a lot of pirate cards that will trigger if they actually deal combat damage. So think of the grandma pirate, for example. There's something that wants some unblockable creatures to get in there for that combat damage. The Fanatical Firebrand, 1 mana for a 1/1 haste. Sacrifice Fanatical Firebrand. It deals 1 damage to target creature player. So this is just a strictly worse / better because it does have haste to get in there for the damage than the, what's the one that has the sack ability in Modern? The Mog Fanatic. So the Mog Fanatic, this is very similar to. So this does pair up with a card that we saw spoiled earlier, but it's in the wrong color combination unless you're going Jund. That I was calling for, we need creatures that can sack themselves to trigger off abilities, especially the card yesterday that turns into the land that can bring back cards. This is a pretty sweet one for that particular strategy. I think this card could actually go in the Ramming Up Red, and it might replace, I don't know if it quite replaces the Soulscar Mage, but I still think they want the Courier. The Beaumont Courier really helps with awkward draws, as it's a way to ditch your hand and re-get. It's also another way to activate your Hazaret if you want to get rid of some cards so you can swing it with Hazaret. Fanatical Firebrand, though, is pretty good in the mirror-ish. I guess it doesn't really kill Soulscar Mages, but it kills Beaumont Couriers. It kills Glint Sleeve Siphoners. I'm trying to think of other relevant cards in the format. Earthshaker Kenras. Not a lot of other 1 toughness creatures at the moment, but if there ever is a 1 toughness creature that does have a huge meta share, the Fanatical Firebrand will definitely be a good addition to that. All right, so here's a card that I really like for Pauper. This is Dusk Legion Zealot. It's a 2 mana for a 1/1. Whenever Dusk Legion Zealot enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose life. I'm sad that this isn't a Vampire Rogue, it's a Vampire Soldier, because it'd be awesome if I'm trying to make Rogue actually work in Pauper, and it's so close, and I think the card like this would be perfect for it. However, being a Vampire Soldier, Vampire Tribal is also really, really close to being a thing in Pauper, as there's a lot of good enablers. But as a card in Standard, I actually think this is playable. This is an Elvish Mystic in a Vampire form, or an Elvish, not Mystic. Now can you think of the Elvish Visionary? That's the card, right? 2 mana to draw a card, and this you have to lose a life, but that's not that big of an issue in Vampires where you're going to be gaining life. And I think this is going to see a ton of play in Standard, and it's going to be a draft powerhouse. It's just an all-around very good card. If we get some sort of Aristocrats type build, this is another card that's perfect for the strategy. It's something that I think even Godfrey's gives. It's not bad to draw a card early on, and then late on after it dies, you can bring it back, Godfrey's Gift, and then becomes a 4/4, and you draw another card. So I really like this Dusk Legion Zealot. I think it's a perfect. This is exactly what Black does. Black mimics the other colors. It does something they do, so it's a card that's typically reserved for green, but at a cost, so you lose a life. So very, very good, flavorful, and balanced card. Huge fan of this card. All right, so we get the Rekindling Phoenix. We knew that something was creating elemental tokens, so here it is. 4 mana for a 4/3 flying. Whenever it dies, create a 0/1 red elemental creature token with at the beginning of your upkeep. Sacrifice this creature and return target card named Rekindling Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. That's a pretty solid card, especially if you do have a sack outlet you can keep doing. This card actually seems really, really powerful in a lot of different. This could be Modern playable. I like this in Scred. I think this is. I don't know if it could take over like P and Carandalar because you get 4 cards for 1. But Rekindling Phoenix is kind of nice. The elemental creature token has to survive, and then you sacrifice it. So any sort of deck that actually wants creatures to enter the battlefield and die, this is a pretty cool card because you can. It's basically 2 creatures enter the battlefield per turn. Plus, this is going to get haste. Then, if you have a way to sacrifice it at the end of your turn, when it comes back, you've got in for 4 damage. You get another 0/1 red elemental creature token. It's kind of cool too if you do have a sack outlet that you can protect this against exile effects. So they try to like Vraska's Contempt your Rekindling Phoenix. You sack it in response, and then you can end up getting it back. So yes, the 0/1 red elemental creature token has a little bit of a liability, but nonetheless, this is a card that's going to be a headache for decks to deal with. And this, I'm pretty sure that this is a card that, like, I think white-red, right with vehicles, this is the slot they really are desperate, a 4-drop. And this one works perfectly because it can crew the Heart of Kran when it comes out, and then it is a 4/3 evasive card that, I mean, it does still die to Glorybringer, but Glorybringer is kind of awkward because Glorybringer kills it. It gets back the 0/1 red elemental creature token, and then you can sacrifice it. Yeah, this seems like a really potent card. So I like the Rekindling Phoenix. The idea behind it, usually the Phoenixes are quite lackluster. They've always been trying to have this recursion type ability, and most of them have been misses or have just been not quite there. Like in the past, they would have made this like a 3/2 or a 4/1 or you know, something like that. And with a 4/3 body, I think this is actually playable. And yeah, it could actually, yeah, this is post rotation. We're losing like Bristling Hydra, and the whole thing that was frustrating me is it seemed to be we were being pushed into dinosaurs post rotation, and having a card like Rekindling Phoenix doesn't mean we have to go that route. And again, I think that this has a lot of control decks will love this as their one finisher. I could easily see that happening because it has to be killed twice. It's got very resilient, very aggressive. It's just a 5-turn clock. Even if you're running a card like Hour Devastation, I mean, you can Hour Devastation on your turn 5, kill your Rekindling Phoenix, and it comes back the next turn. Yeah, I'm in love with this card. I think it's a really, really powerful card. Polyraptor, 8 mana for a 5/5 enrage. Whenever a Polyraptor is dealt damage, create a token that's a copy of Polyraptor. This is kind of sweet. I'm sure there's some infinites with this. Is there anything that says whenever a creature comes into play, it fights another creature? And so you can infinitely make Polyraptor tokens because you can have them fight, or does it say fight another target creature? But yeah, so anyway, there's got to be some pretty silly stuff with this. Of course, the people have already talked about like Pestilence or any sort of recurring 1 damage type spell. Think of is it Staticaster with Polyraptor once you get some tokens going, because it's going to do damage to all of the Polyraptors, and then each turn you're going to be doubling. So it's like a Krenko for Polyraptors. The 8 mana, of course, is silly. That's very, very tough to get 8 mana. You have to cheat this in. I don't think at that point, I mean, you're looking at mana cost that is comparable to like the Emeralds and Gristlebrand's and things like that. Once you get up to 8 mana, it's very easy to get up to 10 mana for an Ulamog, those type of cards. And this ability is quite weak with Vraska's Contempt and things like that. But it is a cute card. This is definitely something fun that it's going to want to be brewed around. The 8 mana, though, is very, very tough, but fun nonetheless. Azor the Lawbringer. It's 4 mana, 6 mana, so 2, 2, and 2. 2 blue, 2 white, and 2 colorless. Flying for 6/6. The stats are definitely there. And when it enters the battlefield, each opponent can't cast instant or sorcery spells during that player's next turn. So it protects itself against sorcery spell removal, as well as gives you mana up the following turn to then counter any instant spell removal. So that's pretty good. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 2 blue, 1 white, and X. If you do, you draw X cards, or you gain X life and draw X cards. So it's got like the Sphinx's Rev hooked onto it every time you attack with it. So this is a very, very potent card. I think that the U-White Godpharaoh's Gift decks could easily bring this in as a sideboard card, and the Approach to Second Sons will definitely want this as their go-to sideboard card, as it's going to be a 6/6 body for, I mean, usually they're creature-less, and then post-sideboard they can have a creature that will come in. And it's the silence effect is very, very potent, as well as the attack effect. Both of them are good. I mean, if you're attacking it on your turn 7, you could easily draw 4 cards and gain 4 life if you have nothing better to do. However, Sphinx of Revelation was best used, instant speed type to draw cards, so you can keep counter magic up. But it still does refill your hand later on and gains you some life. So I think that this card is definitely there on the power level, and it is very restrictive of what decks it can go in, though. So keep that in mind. We have the Protean Raider, a 3 mana for a Shapeshifter Pirate 2/2 raid. If you attack with a creature this turn, you may have Protean Raider enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. So you're getting a clone effect at a discounted price. Usually clone effects are 4. The Protean Raider is 3. You do have to attack with a creature. That's going to be a lot more limited. to what you can do, and then you can copy your opponent's best card. So it's okay. I would rather just have a hard clone copy, and we already do with Vizier of Many Faces that I think is just superior to this card. But it's definitely an option. It's still a pirate. It loses its pirate subtype though when it comes into play though. I'm not sure how I feel about this card. I think it's kind of bulky. I think this could have easily been a 2-mana spell rather than a 3-mana spell to get this sort of ability out of it. Because the raid, I think the raid is worth a reduction of 2 mana. So the double having to only go in red-blue decks and having to attack with a creature, I think is pretty much worth a 2-mana discount, not just a 1-mana discount. All right, here is a card that we are going to have to get the translation. The Golden Guardian. Golden Guardian fights another target creature you control. If the Golden Guardian dies, return to the battlefield and your control transformed. So you're going to want to have it fight something. So think about a Death Toucher. A Death Toucher you get value out of. Isn't there a rat right now that does something, comes into play, does something? So it has to fight one of your own creatures, and then you can tap to add 2 mana of any one color to your mana pool, and then create a 4/4 artifact golem creature token. This card's pretty sweet. I really like this a lot because it's just 2 mana to fight, and it is a defender. You can get some action out of it. It's 4 though to kind of get this ability, but then it can start spitting out 4/4 artifact golem creature tokens. Yeah, not bad at all. I mean, what can this fight and survive on turn 5? Is there something that will come out that can kill it on turn 5 or even turn 4 or turn? So you want a 3-drop that got value. So Gonti. Gonti's pretty good here with Golden Guardian. Any other Death Toucher that is a turn 3 or turn 2 or turn 1 Death Toucher. But this has to, of course, be worked around. It's very susceptible to Vraska's Contempt. Field of Ruin might actually become a more potent card in Standard. Keep that in mind for all these things that flip into lands. We have lots of ways to combat them. But creating a 4/4 artifact golem creature token that doesn't have defender is pretty good. It's a solid ability just every turn to create a 4/4. And the 2 mana of any one color to mana pool is also really potent. So I like this card. I like the design of it. It takes some work. It definitely is a synergy card. It's definitely a brew around card. And yeah. Okay. So we have the Cherished Hatchling, which is a 2 mana for a 2/1. When it dies, you may cast dinosaur spells this turn as though they had flash. And whenever you cast a dinosaur spell this turn, it gains whenever this creature enters the battlefield, you may have it fight another target creature. Don't underestimate this card. This is pretty good. So it's your 2-drop, and of course you don't want to be blocking with it on their turn. So I'm afraid actually this is just a little bit off curve. So on your turn 3, you're not going to want to cast anything. So again, the only ways that I think this can work is with a sack outlet or a way for that you want it to die. And I mean, it's got kind of this enraged type ability, but then you still have to have the mana to cast those cards. So flashing in like the best one I can think of is like a Deathgorger Scavenger or Deathgorge Scavenger and the Ripjaw Raptor. I think work really good with the Cherished Hatchling, but you're really televising your opponent what you're going to be doing, and it will be post blocks too. So yeah, a lot of those, I think that's going to turn this deck. I mean, Walking Ballista looks okay with this because you can Walking Ballista it, but you're using one of your own +1/+1 counters at that point to kill the Cherished Hatchling to then flash something in to possibly block. Like again, the Rampaging Ferocodon, or not the Rampaging Ferocodon, the Ripjaw Raptor, the Deathgorger Scavenger. All of those seem okay, but this card just seems a little bit like too much work to get it to happen. I think this is more aggressive card. You start attacking in with the 2/1. If your opponent decides to block it, then you can cast a creature in and have it fight a creature they control. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. I think on the defensive, this card's a lot worse because it's all about like blue, green. I could see a little bit of use, or I guess red, green. You can hold up like lightning strikes and things like that in case your opponent doesn't attack in. But if you're basically just going turn 3 go. And have a 3-drop dinosaur in your hand, your opponent doesn't kill your Cherished Hatchling, you just wasted a turn. So same thing with your turn 4, turn 5, and it's all about on your opponent's turn, your mana will have to be kept up, and with green, that's usually not the case. So other flash-based strategies, maybe I could see this, but I think this is more of an aggressive card. So I wish it would have been a 3/1 at that point, because then it would give some incentive for your opponent to block it. But 2/1's a little bit meh. All right, we have the Sail Marauder. Sail Marauder is a 2-mana human pirate with flying. We got it. We got it. I said we just needed one more flying vampire or flying pirate to make the flying pirate strategy work. And when it attacks targeted creature defending player control, lose all abilities, becomes 0/1. This is a very potent card. This is a extremely powerful card in an aggressive strategy. However, Walking Ballistas can be a very key card, as well as the -2/-2 abilities, as well as Yahini's Expertise. Those type of board wipe cards are going to be very good at killing these type of... it still dies like Magma Spray and Shock, so keep that in mind. It could just be a little bit of a liability, but I think this is an on-curve, really, really potent card. 1-drop, 2-drop. Turn 3, you can even play a Haster. Nerf down your opponent's blocker and get in there for some tempo. So it looks like blue tempo post-rotation will be a very, very good strategy with a lot of the hate cards out of the way. You can also run a pirate removal spell in the form of, I'm trying to think what the card is called, but just 2 damage to each non-pirate creature, and it could actually be used in conjunction with this card. So if your opponent has a huge creature out, Sail Marauder can turn into 0/1, and then you can use the 2 damage to all creatures pirate spell. So I actually like this card a lot. I think it's another really well-designed card. So yeah, I like this a lot. Okay, we have another card I'm going to have to look up. The Surge of Memories. Return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Surge of Memory. We've seen tons of cards like this. Sorcery Speed. Okay, sure. And then you have to exile it. This is usually a green ability. That's fine if you're trying to get up like a Storm Count or something like that. It's an okay okay card. So it's a 1 less relearn. And these typically have seen play before. It gives you another copy. Basically, your graveyard becomes a toolbox with cards like this. So I'm sure it will see play. All right, another one we're looking up. We have a Mysterious End. It's a 1 white enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature with converted mana cost 3 or less and opponent controls. And when it leaves the battlefield, target opponent creates a 3/3 green dinosaur creature token. So it just exiles it forever. That's kind of cool. So it doesn't work like Silk Wrap. So Silk Wrap, if you destroy the Silk Wrap, they get it back. But they have to... So they have a little bit of incentive to kill your Mysterious End. However, this can be abused like crazy. If you don't care about 3/3 dinosaurs, you can flicker your Mysterious End and just keep exiling problematic cards. This could be modern. No, I don't think it's quite modern playable. But it's still not bad to get rid of the Death Shadow, and then they get rid of the Mysterious End. They don't get a Death Shadow back. They just have to be stuck with a 3/3 dinosaur. Huh. I think this is a pretty sweet card. It's going to see play. We saw the power of Silk Wrap, and right now in the format, it gets rid of Cubs, it gets rid of Glint Sleeve Siphoners, and there isn't a lot of incentive at the moment for you running Enchantment Hate. So we'll see if this actually does incentivize it. Pretty sweet card. All right. Let's go on to the Deeproot Elite. We get another merfolk with +1/+1 counters. Whenever another merfolk enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1 counter on target merfolk you control. Okay, this is getting kind of shenanigans. I think you might be able to just go into Sultai and then get the Whining Constrictor to really make use of all these +1/+1 counters. We'll brew it. We'll definitely brew it when it comes time. But merfolk just got an insane amount of playables. Is there any left they can spoil? All right, so we have the Forerunner. We have a Forerunner slot, all but a blue one. So we have Forerunner of the Empire, which is a 4 mana for a 1/3 when it enters the battlefield. You may search your library for a dinosaur card, reveal it, and put it on top of your library. Whenever a dinosaur enters the battlefield under your control, you may have Forerunner of the Empire deal 1 damage to each creature. This is a pretty good enabler to enable Enrage. I kind of like this card. So there you go. There's your infinite combo with we already found the infinite combo with the Polyraptor. So the Forerunner of Empire into Polyraptor creates an infinite loop. Except it will eventually kill them all, right? Or is it a you may? You may. Okay, it's a you may ability. So you can do it 4 times. Or you can do it actually 2 times before you kill your own Forerunner of the Empire. So, yeah, it doesn't say each other creature. And is that Is that the artwork too? It is. It looks like that is the Polyraptor. So a little bit of a little Easter egg there. It's showing the Polyraptor that you want to be using it with. So yeah, just create. At least you could create 2 copies. Well, and they'd multiply. So the first one entering the battlefield, Polyraptor, would have it deal 1 damage to itself, which would create another Polyraptor, which would then do 1 damage to both of them, which would create 2 more. So basically, the Polyraptor will create 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. And now you're starting to see that's why they put it at the 8 mana cost. Cute little combo. It's going to take a lot of work to get there. And then you can just keep doing that time after time with the more dinosaurs that enter the battlefield. There's a way to pump up this guy's toughness. You can even have the forerunners or the Polyraptors do even more multiplications. I'm pretty sure there's some funny ways to abuse this. Forerunner of the Heralds, 4 mana. You can have it put a merfolk card whenever another merfolk enters the battlefield under your control. Put a +1 counter on Forerunner. So it does put it on itself. It's a 3/2, so that's undercosted, I think, for the ability. Other than it does say whenever another merfolk, but you get to go get a Lord, for example, and then turn 5 you put the Lord out, which gives it plus. It'll make it into a 5/4. This is gonna be a powerhouse card. All of these are gonna be really good in limited. And I do think they're right on, they're almost playable. They're a little bit overcosted for what they do, but because they don't put it in your hand, they put it on top of your library. But yeah, that's still pretty sweet. Forerunner of the Legion, 3 mana for a 2/2, and then you go get a vampire. Whenever another vampire enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gets +1/+1. This was a little bit weaker, other than you could flood out for sure with the Oketra's Monument and like Legion's Conquistador. And then you have this out, you can actually go tutor up your Legion's Conquistador, and that will allow you to then cast your Legion Conquistador the next turn, and then go get 4 things, and then you'd have enough to at least cast 2 of them that turn, and then a creature will get pretty big, so your 1-drop, for example, will now be swinging in for quite a bit. I think this is actually playable in the Oketra's Monument. Oketra's Vampires looks super solid at the moment, so definitely looking forward to brew with this card. All right, we have the Forerunner of the Coalition. The Pirate 2/2, go search for a pirate. Whenever another pirate enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. Pretty sweet little ability, just even for 3. So who cares about the tutoring? They're kind of cool with these Forerunners. They can go get themselves over and over. So a Forerunner can go get another Forerunner, which can go get another Forerunner, which can go get another Forerunner. And then so every turn you'll be casting a Forerunner, and they'll all be like duplicating on top of each other. Or if you need like a Kite Sail Freebooter to try to stop things. This is solid card. Is there any sort of, I guess with the card that gets every card back from your graveyard with power 2 or less, the Dusk Till Dawn, that's a pretty sweet little, but there's no Rally of the Ancestors type card, right, in the format at the moment. If we were to get one of those type of cards, this would be a pretty sweet, because they'd all trigger off themselves. It says, it does say whenever another pirate enters the battlefield, so it doesn't trigger off itself that way. But still, that's not a bad card. All of these are pretty sweet. I don't know if they're going to quite be playable, because they do seem to be a little bit overcosted for what they do, or at least their power toughness. But these two especially, the 3 mana ones, 3 mana is a lot easier to justify. Once you get into 4, you're thinking of like Chandra mana cost. Whereas the 3 is still your utility card slot. It's usually like the turn you're playing the Rogue Refiner type cards. And so Forerunner, these are very similar to Rogue Refiners. Yes, it doesn't draw you cards, but it sets up your play. So it's, what did people say, that it's probably worth like 1/3 of a 1/3 of a draw is what a scry is, and who knows what a tutoring is worth at that point. So even in like modern or in vampire based strategies, the Forerunner can go get something that is I mean, these are great utilities. They can find an answer. Dinosaurs and pirates are quite new, but there are merfolks and vampires going back throughout Magic. There's tons of them. They can go set up your perfect one. And so you never know if even Forerunner could even be a sideboard slot, because these typically have seen play in older formats where they tutor up a specific card. So I'm sure there's some nutty combos in these tribes that you can get for just assembling two of the specific cards. And this one actually the Forerunner actually does go and get one of the crazy little combos right now. All right, so we had a few spoiled yesterday that we didn't get to. The Silent Gravestone, which, damn this card. It's another anti-God-Pharaoh's gift card. Cards in graveyards can be a target of spells or abilities, and then you can exile the Gravestone and all cards from all graveyards and draw a card. So we get another anti-graveyard strategy. Sphinx's Decree. 2 mana, each opponent can't cast instant sorcery spells during that player's next turn. You can set something up. Sure, typically these cards have seen some sort of sideboard slot. It's a way you could actually kind of lock down those approach the second sun type stuff. I'm always okay with that. All right, we have another card I need to look up. The flip one, Profane Processions. 1, a white and a black. It's a legendary enchantment where you can exile target creature for 3 white and a black. Then if there are 3 or more cards exiled with it, you transform it to then be able to put one of those back on the battlefield. This is a decent little control card. I actually do like these in one-ofs in your deck. If you draw it, that's kind of cool. It does take a lot of mana to get the first use out of it. So you've put 3 into it, and then you've put another 5 to start getting the value. So I think this can only go into a really, really heavy control-based strategy. And a white-black control, Planeswalker type control, if we get some good little cards to go along with it, this might actually fit that bill. Hidden stockpile decks might want it. I don't know. I think it's a little bit tough, even in hidden stockpiles. So, I mean, you got to think of this as a greed type effect. You're going to get 6 cards for 1. What I mean by that is you get 3 activations to exile creatures and then 3 activations to return creatures. So that is not bad whatsoever. It's a commander's probably going to love this card, but I think it's going to take a lot more work than you would think in constructed. And limited, of course, this card is just bonkers good. Again, a 6 for 1. This is card draw basically in the white and black. All right, so we have the Bishop of Binding, 4 mana. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until the Bishop of the Binding leaves the battlefield. And whenever it attacks, target vampire gets +X/+X, where X is the power of the exiled card. It's very good in limited. I don't know. The mana cost is a little bit tough for constructed. That 4 mana slot 4 is very key right now in standard. 4 has been key for a long time. These have been your Gideons, your Chandras, your Kalidas. That slot is usually something you need to have something impact the board. Bishop of the Binding, you could say, impacts the board by getting rid of your opponent's card. You get at that point on curve on the play, you get something a Rogue Refiner off. You could get something like a Hazoret. You could actually get with Bishop of Binding and then swing in for a +X/+X. So I think this is a pretty good card against Hazoret, other than the fact that it's just a 1 toughness creature and then it can get pinged and then they get back whatever card you have underneath it. But it's kind of sweet when if you want to race, for example, the Hazoret type decks or even the energy based decks, you get rid of Rogue Refiner the next turn you attack and give something +3/+3. Maybe that'll be too much for them to come back from, but as it is, I think it's just a little bit too weak. Dead Man's Chest, 2 mana, enchant creature an opponent controls. When an enchanted creature dies, exile cards equal to its power from the top of its owner's library. You may cast non-land cards from among them for as long as they remain exiled. And you may spend mana as though they were mana of any type to cast those. So you have to proactively put it on a opponent's creature and then kill it. So this might be a little bit too much to ask for, other than it does curve really well with like Bantu's Last Reckoning. You go turn 2 and then Bantu's, and then you at least get some advantage off of it. It'll be nice to put it on a Long Tusk Cub that's been pumped up, as you can get a lot of cards from it. Like eventually... it's basically this card takes 2 cards for 1, so you need another removal spell to then get value out of it. So it wouldn't be terrible to throw it on. It's gonna be tough for like I was thinking like Heart of Karan would be the best thing, but it'd fall off. So even like a Scrap Heap Scrounger would be good to put on. I think you at least want a 3-power creature, but it takes your turn 2 to set it up, and then it will take your turn 3 with a non-exiling effect to kill it. But it's still, the upside of it's pretty good. I think in limited, this is a pretty good pick because it's going to be decent card draw for the amount of mana you have to spend into it. If anything over 3, I think is very relevant. 4, 5, 6, you're getting huge bonuses. But as far as constructing concerned, it might not be there. We have another 1 mana vampire. This one's really good. It has flying as long as you see these blessings, but it's a 2/1 for 1. So vampires are going to be very aggressive. And we have the Pirate's Pillage, which is a 4 mana as an additional cost to cast Pirate's Pillage. Discard a card, draw 2 cards, and create 2 colorless treasures. So in a Treasures Matters deck, this is pretty good. It helps set up, it helps dig for like Tezzeret if you're digging for Tezzeret or Marionette Master or something else like a Reckless Fireweaver, anything like that that is going to be in this treasure-based strategy. This is the more the merrier because we are missing. What I've seen lately is just the lack of treasures we've been getting from this set, and I was hoping we get more treasures because I really want to try a treasure-based strategy in this next set, of course, with Marinette Master, with Tezzeret, those type of cards. They need some love. All right, and just when you think that we didn't have enough merfolk, here is the Swift Warden, a 3/3 for 3 mana flash. Whenever enters the battlefield, target merfolk you control gains hexproof. This is an insanely good card. This is going to make merfolk tempo a viable strategy. You have the Lords, you have the hexproof now, so you get to protect a creature from Nebraska's Contempt or a Chandra Trigger or a Glorybringer. Very, very good card. A 3/3 flash is backbreaking. So take Glorybringer, for example. Glorybringer attacks in, you protect your card against Glorybringer, you flash this in, and you block a bunch of creatures. So that's a pretty potent little card. So got to give this card some credit. World Shaper, 4 mana for 3/3. Whenever World Shaper attacks, you may put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Whenever World Shaper dies, put all land cards from your graveyard onto the battlefield. Tap. So this is the Splendid Reclamation on a creature. This is kind of cool because you can practically keep setting this up to mill yourself. I don't think there's a good graveyard. Yes, I guess there's deserts that you can get back with World Shaper at the moment. I'm not sure if this is quite enough to brew around it. The 4 mana is a little bit off-putting for a 3/3, and I wish I didn't enter the battlefield or attack so you could get a value out of it when it immediately came in. Any creature that has to, especially a 4 mana creature, going back to the theme of 4 mana, that needs to be cast, untapped, and then still have to be able to attack to get value out of it is a bit of an issue. Other than this might be in a Field of Ruin type deck where lands in your graveyard in a desert-based strategy where lands in your graveyard matter. World Shaper might be a good way to get those back. I flirted with cards with like a desert mill strategy where you can run out of deserts. This could be a way to get them all back. And it puts them into play tap, so if you do have a self-mill strategy, this can actually ramp you up. And the difference between Splendid Reclamation is you actually do get a body out of it. So you can get that blocker the turn that it comes out, and then your opponent has to decide, do I want to attack it or not? However, if it dies is key when we do have Castaway or Cast Out and Vraska's Contempt and a lot of other exile type spells. Last but not least is Etali Primal Storm. 6 mana for a 6/6. Whenever Etali Primal Storm attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. Oh, wow. I think I just found my new commander. This card is amazing, and this is Gonti on crack. So it exiles the top card of each player's library. This is another creature that likes, or another card. This is another, what is the card that I love? Nahab the Eternal. That gets better and better with the more players you have. So if you're in a four-player commander pod or a 5 or even a 6, this card's going to be bonkers good when you attack. So I'm not going to talk too much about this. Let's just go and brew a deck with this. I'm going to try to have a deck done with for Commander. I haven't done a Commander Spotlight in a while. And this is definitely a card that I'm excited about. I think that the key will be take extra attacks per turn. You can do some insane things with this. So let's not spoil too much when I'm thinking about this. Let's go ahead and start building a deck with Etali. I'll try to have this done by the end of the week for Etali Primal Storm. And I think we spoiled all the rest of them in series before. Hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Kevin with RogueDeckbuilder.com. Thanks for watching.